If you're wondering whether this tripod does look a little fragile, it is only $15, and yes, I am putting my RB on it. Currently, I need my good tripod for the camera that is recording you right now. Okay, so when I recorded myself just before, I may have cropped off my head. It's kind of hard to know if I'm going to crop off my head. So, whilst I go ahead and put the camera on, just let me reiterate what I was trying to iterate, which was I need to swap tripods because this tripod is more stable than the one that is currently being used for the digital camera to record me. That digital camera is APS-C, so hence why it's hard to know when it's cropping off my head, because it's 90 mils for my 50 mil, and I did have wider lenses, but unfortunately the one that I would have used got stolen last year, which is for another video coming up somewhat shortly, or possibly before this one. I'm not too sure. We'll see how things go. Basically, I've got a really cool trick that I do with infrared, and it's double exposures, because just to give a quick summary, both the water and the sky are not very reflective of infrared light, in particular if you are shooting away from the sun. This means that because there's no light hitting the negative, or not much light, basically the silver halide is not actually exposed, which means you can re-expose it. Now you can do these kind of tricks in darkrooms, but you basically can't do them in the field, and I'm pretty sure I may have invented it, or at least no one went ahead and wrote about it on the internet, because I did look up when I came up with the idea. But yeah, I came up with these cool photos that I did last year. No, not last year, 2023. And they were really cool. And I had the idea and I was like, sweet, okay. And then I wanted to go perfect it, but I had other things to do. And then all of a sudden, I was shooting 2 infrared videos at the same time, and I haven't learnt my lesson because I'm currently shooting 5 and I'm not stressed at all. And I screwed up and I created this really cool photo. And then the other day I went to go put up my desktop and I was like, that doesn't look that great on my desktop because the orientation. And then I turned it and oh my god, it looked good. It did look really cool. And then I was like, I want to make more of these. I was going to do a double exposure video kind of taking on that idea that I originally had, but I thought this accident was quite cool and I kind of wanted to see if I could recreate it. Essentially what you're doing is you're shooting with the RB, you're taking the first photo and then taking the second photo on top of the first photo and basically double exposing, but the difference is that because a lot of it's unexposed, you don't get much typical normal double exposure, and that can create some really cool looks. So this camera is playing up, so we'll see how it goes. I'm going to be shooting this over a couple of days or maybe a week or something, and we'll see if I can recreate the magic of that first photo. There's a chance that I may not, and it was a fluke, and it wasn't just the coolness of the technique, it was the subject matter, but let's give this a go anyway. So did my first photo, the tripod was a bit unstable, so I am trying to get this one to stay more stable, which is my other tripod, my good tripod, and we will see how that goes. So what I'm going to do first is take my infrared filter off, and then make my composition. Yeah, I think that's going to be it. Okay. See how this goes. I'm just going to do f8 1 second, which is my usual go-to for infrared film. Okay, tiny bit of movement, but should be all good. Ooh, that's pretty cool. Hopefully that came out a lot better.
Looking at this very first photo here, it just looks quite strongly exposed all around the top of the horizon near the mountains, as you can see around here. It didn't blend very well, as you can see, and also I'm slightly off balance. And what I suspect is that when I had the tripod, it just kind of pushed down a little bit more, hence why it's not at a 90 degree, it's just slightly a little bit more. So what I suspect is the sun was probably about a 45 degree angle from where I was pointing, and because the infrared light is less reflective the further away you get, you want to get closer to a 180 degree angle, which would be like this way. That didn't happen because I was probably about a 45 degree angle to it, which means there was more infrared light reflected, which means that there was more silver halide that was agitated, and therefore that's why we end up with this horizon here being quite bright, which then therefore ruins the double exposure trick. So that's probably why this one didn't work. And I don't understand what happened here. I don't understand how this time the 90 degree shot was almost dead center in the middle. Yeah, it just didn't work. It really sucks that I thought I could go ahead and recreate this image, and I was hoping to, you know, get a decent photo quite quickly, but at the moment it doesn't seem to be the case.
I've only got 10 photos, and I don't want to take them all on the island, and it's 2:04 now and the ferry's at 2:55, so probably won't, but gonna focus this down till we get about here. And because you can't see what I'm shooting right now, probably just, even though this isn't infrared, should give you an idea of the composition. Turning our 90 degrees now. And same settings, and just basically fire again. And before I forget anything, I have notes here because I'm, as I said, recording 5 videos at once, and it is a lot to do.
Look, I'm dealing here with a film stock that is quite contrasty, and it doesn't have the greatest latitude when you have the infrared filter on, so it's not surprising that I ended up with this situation. But yeah, this one kind of comes close, but yeah, these is all blown out highlights that just make it an unworkable image.
So we finally got some sun. I have less than 20 minutes to shoot a few photos before I really have to rush it back. So let's hope this goes well. And already I'm having issues. Why are you moving? KNF concept tripods are terrible. They just come so loose. Okay. That's a very interesting composition. I really like it. Little bit of tripod movement, but that's okay. Again, that might be just fine.
This one kind of works. I think maybe if I'd taken it a little bit closer, maybe got the branches mixed in with each other a bit more, you can see here that's kind of cool. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, it doesn't really work that well. But still, you kind of see the idea. And I think what you can also see here, kind of hard to tell where the cloud is, if it's over here or if I missed it over here. But point is, again, I haven't been able to recreate the stunning image that I've been trying to recreate, at least in style.
I really like that. Okay. This is quite rushed, but it is what it is. I'm not going to make a very video. I'm just going to make a video. Okay. It's going to be really interesting how it goes with this cloud. Again, the composition looks interesting.
Now, this image here is a lot closer. Again, you get a little bit of blown out highlights, and you get, you know, just, it's a little bit too much, but it's still quite cool. I think this is getting kind of closer to the cool image that I was trying to do. Getting again closer to that cool image, but we get the ugly double exposure here that just doesn't really blend well. And this is kind of gonna be something that I'm gonna point out right now, why I think the original image worked really well and why it's probably really difficult to recreate it in an environment like this, more so than I thought. And one of the differences is that the original image was mainly foliage. And when you've got like trees on trees on trees and leaves on leaves on leaves, it's kind of like camouflage. So like things can blend together. The shapes are way less defined because it's just made up of little parts and little parts and little parts all blending over each other, just like leaves actually do in the first place. So I think that's why it works really well, because the first image has the leaves blend really well, whereas this just doesn't do the same thing. You've got very strong structured lines all along here because it's man-made, manufactured, and it just doesn't work for the same reason. Now, if I'd been able to go ahead and twist the image the other way, so that the tree here actually was the twisting point, it would have probably worked as an image. But because the RB only turns one way, that was never going to work. So because the image was on the left-hand side, everything about it allowed it to move correctly with the RB. When I go ahead and twist it, it's twisting downwards like this, and therefore it's gonna be in the right position. The issue is that most of the subject matter that I was taking, to get the image to work, I would have had to twist it the other way. And it just didn't do that because it can't do that. So if I was to try this idea again, I might actually have to skip the RB. Or otherwise, I think I would have to go ahead and only take photos of objects that are on the left, if they are going to be my main object. It won't work if objects are on the right, because what will happen is that they will expose on themselves in a way that's not pleasing.
So I've been thinking about this a lot, and I am not too sure how this will go, because when I did the original photo, it was on the left, whereas most of the things that I've been photographing are on the right, so we'll see how that goes.
And you look, yeah, this one here, you can see it's overexposed. Nothing more to say than I screwed this up, but in just a moment you will see that it didn't really matter, and I'll show you right now why. This photo here. This photo here had the closer degree of characteristics to the photo that I originally took. So what you've got here is you've got the sky dark, and then you've got the water also supposed to be dark. The issue here is what I've previously just mentioned, which is my object is sitting not in the correct space for me. I've got a object coming from the right coming into the image. I would need with the RB for the object to be coming from the left, but simply put, that subject matter that I'm trying to take here only comes from the right, and I really don't know of anywhere else around me that comes from the left. So subject matter is incredibly important, and subject position is even more so important with these kinds of photos. Not only would it have to be the right kind of location with the right characteristics for me to be able to go ahead and try recreate that photo like I want to do, but in particular I think that it needs to be something that is going to be from the left, and this subject is just clearly not that.
Okay, so I don't know if this idea is going to work at all. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay. You're all good. Oh shit. I ruined my own photo there. That is going to be one overexposed shot. Damn it. I was talking to someone before and I took the infrared filter off to show them, and I forgot to put it back on. I am not going to have a very good hit rate when it comes to this.
And look, I said it was overexposed and why, and well, yeah, look, here it is overexposed. I am going to say something right now that is, this image is kind of cool, but I don't think it would ever work. And again, it's from the same reasons that I've just mentioned. The object has to be on the left. What we've got here is really the object actually still coming from the right, because if you look at it, it's this way coming shrunk in. So that to me says it's an object on the right, and realistically it's never going to work. As you can see here, when things twist up, it's going towards the right, and it's just not going to work. So even the fact that I screwed it up and overexposed doesn't matter. It was never going to work as an image regardless.
So I think that is done. This was actually way more troublesome than I thought it would be for a video. Just because second day I am extremely tired and I'm not concentrating very well, and I am photographing now on the sand. But I think that may have worked. And if so, I've created myself a really cool technique that is mine. So I'm willing to share if people name it.
So when I went ahead and took this image, I thought about that left to right, and I thought it would look more left to right, but it didn't with this shot. Actually, when I think about it, it's turning still on the right hand side, so I think it matters. What actually needs to happen is that if you're going to go ahead and achieve this trick, it might be more than just a 90-degree turn. There's the chance you might actually have to move the camera a little. Let me just double check. No, that's not the case at all, because this is basically in the center, and you can tell, or center-ish, you can tell it's all moving from the main point. I don't think so. No. And again, maybe I should have... I think what I'm actually leaning towards now more is actually... So when I did the original experiment, what happened was that I was doing 3 rolls. So one of them was standard stock speed infrared. One of them was going to be pushed once, one of them was going to be pushed twice. What happened is I took them to the lab and I forgot to get the other 2 film stocks pushed. And what I'm seeing in the original image is that it's not as bright as these. And you can see more horizon light on this image. So what I suspect is that actually potentially not only do you need to do this infrared trick, you need to technically underexpose your image, because the less agitation of the silver halide crystals you get, the darker spots get. The spots that are lit up are going to be lit up well enough anyway, and they will still pop through. But I suspect, and I'm looking at this now, if this image was darker and, you know, we could just go ahead and quickly adjust it. Let's just drop it just a little bit. Okay. There we are. Starting to kind of thing. This is not a perfect quick adjustment of the settings, but you kind of get more the idea that actually a slightly darker image actually is what is needed. So maybe it's that. Okay, so to summarize, there are some things that matter when it comes to trying to recreate the best image that I've created in 2025. And this is what I think is the factors that matter. Again, I wasn't able to recreate it, but trying to recreate it gave me some insight. So first of all, you're gonna need, I think, shadows and a fair amount of them. So you need to photograph around water, and you need to photograph 180 degrees away from the subject. Whilst that was a factor in some of the photos, it's not the whole thing. Second of all, you're going to need lots of foliage. Foliage blends a lot more, as you can see right around at this key point. Now, third of all, and probably the most important factor, is that it was an accident, it was a mistake. It's based on a principle that I had worked on and created, but in a way that I had not thought of. But most importantly, it was potentially an underexposure that emphasized certain elements, such as not having much information in the shadows, which allowed everything to blend a lot more. So I suspect that may actually be the key requirement to really make this hit. So I'm not going to try recreate the image just yet, but at some point in the future I will, because I am working on my adjacent project / thesis related to this. And maybe whilst I'm doing that, I give it another go because I think I could take this to the 10th degree if I understand what I have done wrong this time around to get it right the next time. So that's where I'm going to leave this for now. As always, it's been real, guys. Until next time.